Welcome to Wizard Team, a Black magical podcast for Black magical stories.
Hi everyone, it's Bayana, Robyn, and Porshèa embarking on a journey through the many fantasy stories written by and about Black people. Currently, we're reading Amari and the Despicable Wonders by B.B. Alston, and today we're discussing chapters 16 through 18.
But first, previously on Wizard Team, Amari has a half-baked plan to get into the Victory Gala, and Mrs. Chamberlain, despite being the de facto guardian in this situation, is much too happy to provide disguises and a way in. But things go quickly wrong at the gala when Amari wanders into Harlow's office, is forced to forget that Elsie is in trouble, and then has to throw hands with a mind-controlled Lara, all before the magician's attack. And then we learn that B.B. Alston is not only diabolical, but Dylan is playing chess, not checkers, when he uses a time bomb to wipe out the Prime Minister and the rest of the Supernatural World Congress.
Yeah. And then we start chapter 16, and it just it gets worse and worse. So the party is still in shock by what just happened with Dylan and Prime Minister Merlin in the Supernatural Congress when it is infiltrated by a large number of magicians. Fighting breaks out everywhere, but Amari is just focused on trying to find and, quote, rescue Laura, because Laura is... she don't want to be saved, as Porshèa let us know so many times last episode. Laura is not aware that she is being rescued, so she's not really helping in the effort to rescue her. When Amari does find Lara, she is the only agent standing between the magicians and Harlow. And I say that agent also with quotations because she is a junior agent. She is a child. Mm-hmm. And Harlow is pleading with the magicians, saying that they can just have the bureau. She'll even help them take the bureau. And they let her know that she'll be doing that anyway. So while the magicians are trying to, and basically succeeding to capture Harlow, Quentin and Magnus come bursting into the party, racing along the ceiling in sky sprints, and start to fight the magicians. Quentin is like, he's got two stun sticks, like going between the legs, doing like just like an and one mixtape type of video with all these moves and stuff. And people are in awe, and Amari is also kind of in awe, but like is continuing to try to grab and like rescue Lara during this whole thing. And as she, like, Lara at one point gets like thrown against a wall so that the magicians surrounding them can get at Harlow. And so Amari like takes Lara's stun stick, stuns her, and then starts to like stuns Lara, and then starts to drag her towards Jaden and Elsie. And Lucas comes to the rescue. There's like a big fracas, so he's able to kind of like help Amari while still looking like he's fighting with the magicians and not against them. But because he is in magician like robe garb and stuff, as he's trying to help Amari, Lara is able to move again and then attacks Lucas. And before Amari can let him know that they're on the same side, Lucas hits her with an ice spell. And then he apologizes, but they take her, reach Jaden and Elsie, and portal out of the mansion and back into that subway hideout. Elsie does like a half transformation to like turn into a dragon and tries to warm Lara up, but like it's not looking great for the girl. She is in like an ice sleep, and Lucas does not know how to reverse it, which we'll get to in my thoughts, but it feels just like fundamentally, like if you're gonna have a spell, you should know how to break the spell. So because he can't reverse it, and Lara is literally like, seems like almost dying of hypothermia. Like she is literally in a like her body is ice or turning to ice. Despite Elsie's help, Amari asks Lucas to portal Jaden, Elsie, and Lara back to the Chamberlain Manor so that they can get her some help while he and Amari wait for Hannah. As soon as Lucas gets back from portaling them to the Chamberlain Manor, he gets a message from Hannah and he has to portal her back to the hideout where she's not doing too well because not only did she fail to get the mural, she was hexed as soon as she touched it and got the snot kicked out of her by a bunch of ninjas is what it sounds like. And I couldn't tell. It seemed like possibly there's some like lasting effects, but it wasn't just like a beat up, like not just getting beat up, but she definitely got beat up. There's maybe some internal damage. I'm not sure. We're not 100, but she looks.
Yeah, it just sounds like she got
snot kicked out of her for sure.
Yeah, I'm like but I also feel like when you get beat up, like it's not like, depends on how bad you get beat up, I guess.
Yeah. Because she said, I don't think I'm gonna make it. So I think she definitely got beat up, but I'm thinking there's some internal bleeding, some liver, some organ damage in that beating up.
Something.
And basically chapter 16 ends with them being way down. It's bleak.
They're down. Everybody's down bad.
Everyone's down bad. And I just want to talk about the multitude of failures happening, like bad intel, poor communication, no real, like I don't know how much more we could talk about the lack of real planning and like what actually is a plan and what is a concept of a plan and what is just wishful thinking and calling that a plan. Because it all comes to a head here in a way that is like very clear that it didn't need to be this way. Not saying that they would have come out victorious, but they didn't have to go out as poorly as they did. And I just feel like starting with Amari not being able, like we talked about last episode, like not being able to like really explain to Lara like what was going on or having like some sort of trigger or something, which I'm starting to think too, because I don't think that they do this again, but they need to have some like trigger words to be like, okay, you're in a Harlow spell type of thing, something to knock them out of it. They need to figure that out real quick. But something just quickly to like spark something so that Lara trusts her again. Not having a concrete plan for like Jaden and Elsie to meet up with her if she did have to literally drag Lara out of the gala kicking and screaming. Lucas not being aware or apprised of who the gang is fully. Like, I would like to think that he would have not shot an ice spell at Jaden, but does he know what Jaden looks like? Like, did they meet him? Did they all meet him? Or is it just Amari? You know what I mean? Like, I can't remember if this is when they first finally all meet.
No, he's met, because he came to the manor. So he's met Jaden and Elsie, but not Lara.
Right. But like, knowing that the plan, did Lucas not realize that the plan was also to help save Lara and like that she may not know? I don't think that they had that poor communication.
No, because Amari didn't even think of that.
No.
Remember, she expected to go, like, even though she saw Lara under control, I think she expected it to be easier to get her.
Yeah.
So she didn't really consider that Lara wouldn't want to come with them.
It just, and then Hannah, again, we talked about how Jaden, Elsie, and Amari got to the gala and was immediately split up. Like they could each do this whole thing by like, or each could take one part of this like large unwieldy plan and handle it on their own. But like Hannah and Lucas also did the same thing. Hannah just goes out to get the mural and didn't think about how it would be hexed. Like, to find out that this thing is hexed as soon as you touch it. Why did you touch it? You know what I mean? Like,
I think it's hard because it's like, I agree. Like, they definitely needed more time and more planning, but I think it also is like they don't have the things are moving fast, but they don't have the manpower. It's like,
okay, so
nobody like, you know what I mean? They don't have people who are like willing to stick their neck out, so they have to do it all, and they don't have the time, I guess, to like really.
So I've been reading a lot of mysteries, right? Because I was doing this thing called Black Mystery Month. Get it? Black History Month, Black Mystery Month. Get it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I've been reading a lot of mysteries this past month, and I still feel like I just read one where this girl goes like kind of undercover and is spying inside enemy lines, spying on her boyfriend, I guess, whatever. She's in there by herself, but she like finds someone to help her like learn how to like pick locks. She knows to not just go touching stuff without like leaving. This is not a fantasy story, but like leaving fingerprints, stuff like that. Just like basic. And yes, they haven't had full agent training, so I want to give them that. And who knows what Lucas and Hannah are doing? Are they even in the bureau?
No, because they're magicians. So, yeah, no.
So they just are in the known world, secretly magicians. I have questions about how magicians who are not in the bureau work. Because like we saw,
I think it's
like,
just like they do their regular thing, but they are with the league, so they have their like, if they're apprentices, they have their apprentices, but then they kind of, because I remember they were talking about like a lot of magicians are like famous people or like in high places.
But but it also felt like they were also in the supernatural world as well. But this feels like they're not.
I'm not sure because I feel like they're more like, I feel like they're aware, but and like I think they're just not in the bureau. They're not around the bureau.
Yeah.
Right? Because they have to be in hiding.
Yeah. Okay. But I still feel like don't go touching murals. Like, throw something at it first. I don't know. You know that Dylan is diabolical. You know that he knows about the mural. Hexing it seems like a very obvious thing. Like, I would think that that's something that you would think about. Whether or not you know what to do with that hexing, I don't know. But it would be something that.
And maybe she assumed like, oh, because I'm a magician, maybe it's not hexed for magicians or something. That's the only other thing. That's the only thing I could think.
But he's snatching magician's
Clearly,
powers.
she was wrong either way.
But yeah, again, overall, bad intel, poor communication, failure of planning, whatever. Lucas is doing. Oh, I have an MVP. I wasn't sure if I had an MVP, but I do. Lucas is doing a lot of work. Just saving them. Just saving them all from themselves and each other and the people that they're actually up against. But it didn't need to be as dire. The other thing I want to talk about is not knowing how to reverse spells. So we saw this with even like Quentin being in that deep sleep, like,
and no one really knowing what to do.
No one knowing what to do. Like, I don't even think that Dylan knew, because Dylan didn't even realize that he was awake.
Well, because he did it while he was in his like untraumatized state. So I don't know if he like what's the word?
He wasn't cognizant that he did it.
Remembered it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it could have been possible that he like or maybe in his brain he's like, did I do that? You know what I mean? Like, I feel I could see it being a foggy thing because it wasn't. Yeah. I could see it being something he doesn't quite remember, or even if he's like, did I do that? Nah, I would never do that. You know what I mean? Like, I could see it as something he brushes off.
And then, and we saw Amari. I mean, Amari kind of made a little bit more sense because she didn't know what she was doing either way. So
Yeah.
but then again, like, stop throwing spells at people.
You don't know what they
If
are.
you don't know what they are.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like, because I feel like, for one, they're not supposed to be, like, I guess it is a curse. Like, their magic is, he kind of cursed Lara. But I also wonder, like, he is a apprentice, so maybe it was a spell that's strong, but he doesn't quite know. And because he didn't realize that Lara was on their side, he's not really
worried about
doing it with the thought of about oh, how am I gonna reverse it?
Yeah, I was just thinking about like the fact that there was so much happening at that moment. And like it just so happens that like he hits Lara, and it's not an accidental, like he means to do that. Partially thinking like, what if you just kind of panic? You know what I mean? Like, what if you're in the middle of this thing and it's not a Lara, but it's another magician or something, and things are moving really fast and you just panic and throw a spell out. And you're like, oh shit. Or if like Amari would have jumped in front of the spell. You know what I mean? I just feel like in general. And I read this.
Yeah, you should have
the like, if you have the power to throw something, you should have the power to reverse it. And you should not be throwing spells that you do not know how to. You don't fully understand. And I just think that like we've seen this happen in multiple instances, but with like a few different people. So magicians need help.
My main thing in this whole thing around Lucas not knowing, like, I get like not knowing how to reverse spells, and I honestly I don't know, like, because of the like general chaos going on, like, and him being like part of the magician's side, trying to subterfuge, not trying to be seen by them, helping Amari and them while also helping Amari and them. You know what I mean? I can completely understand how he just like is making like these like the spell to like just like you're not checking to see who's on what side at the moment, just doing it. My thing was how the team Amari reacts to Lucas after he made it. Like, they treat him as if he did it like purposefully to like he had a personal vendetta against Lara or something. It's like, or like they can't trust him in his powers. And I'm like, Amari, like you're giving the same vibe that everyone gives magicians to Lucas when he did something in defense of your team. And it's like, it's strange. They kind of like Jaden like questions him extra hard, and like I just don't like that. That's how they reacted to Lucas, who actually came, like, was the one who was trying. Again, he's trying to do subterfuge while also having their backs. And I'm like, that's not how you treat an ally who came. Like, he popped up in a portal out of nowhere right when you needed him.
Yeah. And I do agree with that. Like, it is like Lucas was doing a lot, and like,
and also like Amari had tried dozens of times and failed to get Lara in a travelable like state. Lucas actually got it done, one shot.
That's true.
Yep.
She might not wake up, but she's not with Arlo anymore.
She is now she's now knocked out the way that they needed her to be knocked out.
Yeah, it just feels like I agree with like how they react to that, but it's also like this is why I'm just saying, like, the whole crew is down bad here. Is like they're like very, as soon as he was like, I thought she was attacking you. It's like, no, you didn't think she was attacking you. You just didn't realize that, like,
she was under control, or
but like also out of all the agents, that's an agent that matters to them. Because if it was Tristan, they would have been like, oh, that sucks for him. Sucks to suck.
Hate to see it.
Hate to see it. You know what I mean?
Amari might have felt a little bad, but she would have let it. She would have let it go.
Walk around.
But you wouldn't have.
No. But also the thing is that annoys me, and we'll see like later, is that like it's actually better off for them to just leave Laura there to get medical attention than for them to try to take her, and they don't actually have any medics to take care of her. So better just have left her and have the medics.
They get really lucky. They get really lucky with what happens next, because they literally were like, now that we've pretended like you did this on purpose, Lucas, can you take her to Chamberlain Manor? A house of freaking horrors, so that we can stare at her and not know what to do, because Elsie and I are on the most wanted list, so we can't just take her. You know what I mean? They get real.
Yeah, can't take her to the barrow.
And then the other thing, and this is just, I was not expecting this when this book came out. I feel very much like Amari. I was very much on the like Amari and Quentin teaming up and saving the world. And now I'm like, oh, what did you doing? Quentin showed up real late and real flashy. Like, one, where were you? Where were you guys? What was your intel? What were you doing? But then also, like, did you actually do anything? I mean, he like had the whole so there's like this thing that you always say when you're like playing basketball or sports, I think too, which is like play the game, don't stop and watch other people. But then there are times when like someone like LeBron James or Kobe Bryant or Candace Parker will be doing something and you're supposed to be playing basketball, but you're just watching them be real like athletic and shit. And it feels like the only thing that Quentin did was distract them with his mere presence. But
yeah, it felt like he's such a like he was good. Like he did get some of the magicians, and I think a lot of them are also afraid of him.
Yeah, but it was a very much on your left type situation. Shout out
yeah.
In game where like,
and it's like
the main crew had already gotten their tail kicked, and then on your left,
Carlo already got kidnapped by the time they jumped in. But it also, again, it provided a distraction. Like, Quentin has no idea that Amari and them were there.
This is true.
So it helped them get out. But yeah, no. And I guess in some ways, I don't know. I don't disagree with you.
I'm just waiting to not be upset with Quentin. Today is not that day. One day. I don't know.
No, he's
my main beef, like, I get what you're saying with being flashy and dumb, but my main thing here is like not that Quentin showed up when he showed up. My main thing is they come through and they save the day, just as once again Amari realizes that maybe she doesn't have the juice to get out of the predicament that she got herself into. And it feels like a running theme that it's like, oh crap, I don't got what I need to get through this. I don't know what happens next. And then the grown-ups come. And I think it goes back to us discussing in previous episodes how like they're not working together in a way that it's like they really would benefit if they were simply to build plans and strategy, or at least an outline or something together. And you would hope they would have learned by the previous lessons that like this cannot keep going, and you hope, well, maybe from this one, like maybe this is the one they learned from, and we're gonna see what happens with that, right? And I just like, I don't know how, and because I am not a guns a-blazing kind of girl unless like I get pushed far there, but I don't know how to be a guns blazing person and feel like justified in continuing to have that outlook on life if every time I get into deep crap, someone else saves me. Because like if I save myself, then I'm like, oh no, I can, no matter what happens, I got it. So I can go in guns blazing because I can always get out by myself. But if every time in recent tries, someone has had to come out like a Hail Mary to get me out of there, I'm going to be second guessing my ability to just jump into things.
Yeah, I mean, I think this goes back to what we were saying last week about her still moving like she has magic. And again, she's like, I think it says in this chapter or the next one or whatever, she's like, no, it's like the next one. She's like, just a week ago, we were here. And it's like, it has not been that much time for her to like really grapple with the fact that she does not have magic. And so she is making very risky, she's taking unnecessary risk too. And not acknowledging how risky it is because she does not have the same protections, or she can't save herself. She's like, yeah, she's just going off of like a plucky attitude and good intentions.
Yeah, but I also feel like, I don't know, it's one of those things where I think she's also like, she can't, and we talked about this already, I think, but like, she can't take the time to think about it. Like, she's just gotta,
Keep going.
you know what I mean? Like, make it happen so that she doesn't like not do it.
Yeah. I get that, but she also needs to take the time to think about it. When she's putting herself in positions of like going to this like gala full of agents, sure, and you know what I mean? She's putting herself in these positions where like she really does need to take a step back.
But I'm saying like overthink it and then she doesn't do anything at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that like
it's a delicate balance at this point. Yeah.
But it might be better for her to freeze because if her main mission turns out being to save Lara, and Lara don't need to be saved. Like if she just had a little bit of extra thought. Like,
well, yeah, that's her guilt.
It's her guilt. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, like I feel like we like naming of needing mental health, like having an outlet, having someone to talk to about that would be very useful to her, because it's like again, we're gonna see that like her plan and strategy to get Lara out, first of all, didn't work. We already saw that. Secondly, like she was unnecessary. And so I don't even think she gets a moment to think through that. I think she just keeps moving. But like, and I understand hindsight is 2020, but sometimes it's just like, you could have worked that out. Like you could have sat and figured out like the answer to this equation without having to jump into it.
Yeah.
Was that it for 7 or for 16?
Yeah, just one more reiteration that they went out sad. Didn't need to. They went out sad. I just think we need to like acknowledge that. And I feel like they need to acknowledge it too, like, but they haven't and they won't.
Yeah. And I think it also has to do with what we were talking about last week too, is like nobody was at their best. Oh, except for Dylan. Dylan's the only person. Because I would even argue that like Quentin jumping in, like you're saying, at the last minute, like, yeah, it kind of helped, but it more helped politically than it did like actually.
Yeah, it was a lot of flash.
Dylan's still out there. Harlow's out of the order. You know, some people are being freed, so it's not to say that it did nothing. Like people are being freed from Harlow's control. They're like, we'll see.
But that would have happened anyway because Harlow got kidnapped by the magicians. Quentin didn't apprehend Harlow.
Right. But I think the point was that even if she didn't get kidnapped, that was how them coming in like that was gonna. I assume that their plan was them coming in like that was gonna like turn the tide or something. I don't really know. Not gonna lie. But you're right. Like the magicians kind of did that. So yeah, Dylan's up 1. Everybody else is no, yeah, nobody was doing great.
They're in the negatives right now. They're not even in the whole numbers. Yeah. I just want to say that like I sound like Chucky Finster, but like the magician resistance, like it sounds like it's doomed. Like it bears all the hallmarks of a doomed enterprise for their small little circle of resistance. And that's so sad.
Yeah, it's very much it's what, 3 kids in a trench coat. Like, they're just I appreciate the bravery and the like determination to do what they know is right, but the skills are wanting. Okay, so chapter 17. So Amari returns to Chamberlain Manor, where Elsie and Jaden are trying to warm up Lara, with little progress. But then Agent Magnus arrives and he says he needs Amari to come with him before he just says he needs Amari to come with him, doesn't really give any reasoning, but Amari trusts him, so I was like, okay. But before they go, they ask him to call a medic for Lara, so she'll be all right. Magnus and Amari meet Quentin at the Supernatural World Congress building, and then there's also Maria, who's recently freed, and then Director Van Helsing, for some reason, he's claiming that he was under the control of Harlow, and Quentin tells Amari that there's no time to push back on that because it's time for a press conference where Amari's going to be able to explain the whole truth of Harlow and the Dylan situation to the public. After the press conference, they go back to the manor. Amari and her friends say goodbye to the Chamberlains because now they're no longer 2 most wanted and some friends, so they can go back to the bureau. So they say bye to the Chamberlains, all except for Peekaboo, who has decided to take on his first ever haunting of Jaden. Poor kid.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day, and that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
Wizard Team is part of the Black Nerds Create Collective, which provides content through the lens of critical and creative fandom. In BNC's Discord, you can not only find a channel dedicated to all things Wizard Team, but spaces to connect with other fellow nerds about stories across media, genre, and more. Join a group read, find book recommendations, and maybe even get the juice to write your own story. Just go to bnc-community.com to join.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was getting frustrated by your forms. Now, Taxes is uploading your forms with a snap, and a TurboTax expert will do your taxes for you. One who's backed by the latest tech, which cross-checks millions of data points for absolute accuracy, all of which makes it easy for you to get the most money back, guaranteed. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
So yeah, I feel like the first thing is we've briefly touched on Merlin, and like I think this is funny because I know we've said it before, but it's like it's always funny to be like skeptical. Like the one thing that's across all of our seasons at the moment are just being skeptical of some dude named Merlin. Anyway, so the whole supernatural world is mourning him. Like when Amari gets back to the Chamberlain's manor, like Mrs. Chamberlain is really like the first time she's really sad and upset and like mourning Merlin, and so it's like one of those things where like he's universally is kind of hard because it's like not including the magicians, but he's like very well liked and respected, and people have been like following his leadership for 700 years and haven't, I guess, had a lot of complaints. I don't know. He kind of even though we don't see him very much, he gives me, not to bring this up, but he kind of gives me Dumbledore vibes in the like everything will be okay because we have Merlin type way. Even though things haven't really been okay. But yeah, so it's just an interesting thing, and I think goes into like the status quo and like what people are used to seeing. And obviously like what happened to him was extremely sad and like terrifying. So it's not even to say that like he doesn't deserve to be mourned. But I just think it's interesting to get, we only really get or we only really see Merlin through other people's eyes. So it's kind of hard to like have a full opinion on him because he is kind of this like untouchable figure in some ways. So yeah, so it's just a thing that I thought was interesting.
What I thought was interesting and kind of charming is that, because you're talking about supernatural world, mourning Merlin, it's just Chamberlain has like a pour something out moment about Merlin a little bit when they return to the Chamberlain. She's kind of like sad about it.
Mm-hmm.
But what was funny to me is how her House of Terrors were still on their same schedule of terrorizing. And it's only because she was walking through, they were like, oh, okay, we should chill. But they were still on it, even knowing that Merlin was down. Which makes me feel like so that's the thing about like horror, right? Is that people go to horror to kind of break them out of their own cycle of like fear. Like seeing someone feeling a different kind of fear, feeling a different kind of stressor can help people break out of their own stressors. And so I feel like the terrors, like, no, like still staying on the schedule of like creating calamity and fear for a moment in a time of darkness, like a big figure like Merlin being out. They still have a role in that because that actually does help some people, but not this moment. Not with Miss Chamberlain, she's not playing that. But I appreciate that the terrors know their role in this world and are ready to fulfill it, even in a moment where like maybe Merlin was cool for them too, you know, like they get the special permission to like hunt people all the time. Like maybe it is like also effective for them, but they're like, nah, I'm gonna stay and be the terror that the people need for me to be in this moment. And I appreciate that for them.
Be the terror you want to see in the world. I think that it's really interesting too, because like, yeah, Mrs. Chamberlain 2 chapters ago was on her nonsense. You know, she said safety schmafety. And now all of a sudden she's really feeling the, I guess it's safety schmafety with an asterisk. You know what I mean? Like not that it's not dangerous to sneak into a gala when Harlow is a known like baddie, but there's this false sense of like you said, like that Dumbledoreism of like everything's gonna be okay because like he's in this world that you're now seeing from someone even like Mrs. Chamberlain, who's now like more shaken up by this than you would think she would be, because one, she's already perished, and two, like she's a haunting terror. I don't know what they call them, but like a ghoul. I don't know. So you would think that it would be a little less somber on her behalf and more of a like, well, you know, everything has its time type of situation, and it's not that. So again, it's sad that he and the Congress are gone. I have this thing, and I know this is like fiction or whatever, but like when Roberta Flack died, rip to Miss Flack, I was like, oh, that's really sad. And then I realized that she was 88, and I was like, oh no, that's a good life, you know? Like it's not that it's not sad, you know, people have loved ones and it's always hard to like hear about someone's passing, but there's a different reaction I think I have to someone who I deem has like lived a life. I don't know if it was a good life but at least a long life. Where like, as opposed to someone who like passes away at like 60 or 50, you know what I mean? Yes, I wasn't gonna pull that out, Porshèa. Portia's like, it's not Michelle Trachtenberg, but yeah, where there's like, you feel like there's a lot of like, still a lot of potential, a lot of like unknown pathways that a person's life could take. when they pass away at, 36, 50, whatever. So I say all that to say, my man's was like 700 and had been in power for Lord knows how much of that.
No, he's been in power for 700 years. He's older than that.
Older than seven. He'd been in power for 700 years. Like, he did what he needed to do, and if he didn't, then that's on him, because like he had the time.
Yeah, I think it's also just like the nature of it too, right? Like, I think if he had like passed away peacefully,
right,
people would be sad and would mourn, but wouldn't be quite so like we're doomed as
going out like this. And I'm not saying that like, but what I was thinking about it is like, I think it in terms of storytelling and narrative is like, I think it's like a really interesting thing too, because yes, it is tragic, but even again in like the Dumbledore-ness of it all, it's like he's lived a full life, and so then you're more, or me as a reader, and I don't know about like middle grader readers, but like I feel more like, okay, that happened, that was sad, I'm excited to see what's next.
I mean, I feel like knowing how children view years, they're probably on the same vein of thought of like, oh, he's more than 700 years old. I mean, he's an old man. Okay. Like, they go. Like, I think having more than 700 years to do a job means that he had time to put the thing down, flip it, and reverse it multiple times. Like, he did it one way the first 50 years, did it a different way the next 50 years, 180 on that, 360, probably. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's 700 years. Yeah, I feel like it's interesting to me because these 3 chapters, and like this is all being the aftermath of like Merlin having been taken out the way that he was. The way that even like Bureau adults are moving around it, which is like very like status quo. It's interesting to me. It's like the system is designed to move this way. Like not one person is going to stop the whole parade, but it's like that's the issue with like capitalism, right? Is that like you can be a worker in the cog, you can be the CEO and get gunned down on the street, but like things will still go on. The meeting that you were supposed to be in that hour, they kept moving and had it anyway. Like your death didn't stop anything, and that's the way it's supposed to be, quote unquote, which is really effed up.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it is a little harder too, because Dylan is like, it happened and Dylan is at large still.
And laughing in their faces like, oh, y'all thought you had me. And I use the exact same playbook. I didn't even pull out any new tricks
as the last time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay, and then I love that Magnus, this is the thing, this is the difference, and again, it's not Quentin's fault, this in particular is not Quentin's fault, but the difference between like knowing the kids and having like worked with them and trained them versus just popping up on the scene 2 seconds ago, like he realizes that first, we already have like, he let Amari, they talked to him about the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing, and he was just like, you can go ahead and do some information gathering. But in this case, he sees that Lara is frozen under like piles of blankets and coats. And he's like, clearly y'all were up to something. Clearly y'all were at the gala. But he don't even ask questions. He's just like, all right, I'll call and come on, Amari. Like, I love that. He said, look, I already knew. Like, I don't, you need to sit down with Quentin and be like, look, this is how things are. Because at this point,
said my hair is not like getting any grayer
than it is to try to stop them at this point.
That's another thing about why I just like, again, everyone, like, you've heard me talk about the lack of plan and how annoyed I am by that. But like the fact that y'all brought Lara back to y'all's hideout spot. So as soon as it all gets blown up, you don't even know like if you had the cover, he needs to maintain that cover or not. And you just threw it all up in the air anyway. And then now it's like, oh, we're going to tell the Bureau where to find everybody. And like Lara's here. So she's got the Van Helsing like attention on like where y'all went to hide out whenever y'all. So what happens the next time y'all need to be out of the public space? They know you're known accomplices, right? Like now. So what are we doing? And I think again that's what bugs me. I'm like, there's so many things you have to maintain and you need to like be thoughtful about as you're doing these things. And they didn't think about any of them. Sorry to keep harking on that soapbox. It is so annoying. So like, yeah, it's cute that Magnus is like, okay, like I got you, like no questions. But it's like the deep cover of it all, the like maintaining like that like fellowship and not getting your like accomplices in like on the radar is kind of messed up. I don't know. That's what bugs me about this. Like especially because Lara would have been better off just having stayed on property. They probably would have had an immediate medical attention and has now been taken away for a couple of hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think in general, again, it's part of the conflict. It's part of the like struggle with having your brother be back and like more active and stuff. Like I do think there's like also that struggle, at least with Magnus, to like let he can't make decisions for Amari technically in a parental capacity.
Until he makes that one decision.
Let's yeah.
I'm just saying.
Let's move on that note.
That he made for all of us. That we all have to deal with.
Let's move on.
That one big.
I know. Shh. I know it's not because of spoilers, because I don't want to get in my feelings yet.
So basically,
let's go to
that
anger.
meme from Get Out where you're like, no. Shh.
Yeah,
Candyman.
No, baby.
Don't say. We don't. We don't say.
So let's go to anger instead. So they get to this I already mentioned in the summary, they get to the press conference. Director Van Helsing is there. Amari is like, what are you doing here? You were working with Harlow. And he's all, I was actually controlled or whatever, even though knowing that she saw that he was working with her and was not controlled. And Quentin like is just kind of like, leave it, we're all on the same side now. And it's like, that's not how this works, sir. First of all, you have no idea of the history between Amari and Director Van Helsing. Like, he's been like really foul to her for over.
I'm sure he's got
now?
a good. I'm sure
like maybe a year.
I'm sure he's got a good idea. Fortunately, it's very much giving that Quentin has already not only known who Director Harlow is, but has suffered through some of, not the same amount because he is not a magician, but has suffered through.
You mean Van Helsing?
Van Helsing, sorry. What did I say?
You said Harlow.
Oh, yeah. He knows who Van Helsing is and has suffered through some of, not to the full extent because Amari is a magician, but, he and Maria have a close
and I don't think
relationship, and he has decided to swallow it to get things done or to do what he needs to do or to go where he needs to go. And it goes back to what Porshèa was saying about them being so bought into the system and so much like accepting of what the system is without ever stretching or pushing the system to be better. And so his reaction to Amari is, you got to learn how to swallow it. And Amari is like, nah,
I think
bitch.
it's that, but I also don't know that we have an idea of his relationship with Van Helsing. Like, obviously, Van Helsing is a like reprehensible human being, but he is also very much like Quentin is the star of the department. You know what I mean? So I can't really.
I feel like it's one of those things, and I
believe that he would have had like, maybe it's one of those things where you peep how people are, and you're kind of like, maybe, you know what I mean? But I just feel like, not to say that Quentin likes him, but I just don't know that he would have the same, like anywhere close to the same experience that Amari did.
I'm not saying that it is the same. I'm pulling a Porshèa, and I am casting this. I'm making this assumption, but I feel like it's a educated assumption that Harlow, I keep saying Harlow, Van Helsing recognizes Quentin's popularity, and so publicly is all about it, but privately is constantly trying to put him in his place to let him know, because not only is Quentin a Black kid, he's a merit kid. And so there's these like layers of, you're not one of us, you're not like us, you don't deserve the Van Helsing glory, and you definitely don't deserve to be like dating my daughter type of thing that I just get, I just glean, I just know in my bone, in my heart of hearts, that Van Helsing has like micro-aggressive aggressions towards him, aggressions towards him, that he's savvy enough not to do publicly, but Quentin is smart enough to like pick up what he's laying down. But Quentin has decided that for his personal and professional career and trajectory, he's just going to continue to swallow it and push through.
I mean, maybe so. Either way, he don't get to tell Amari how
I agree.
how to handle it.
That's where we agree. That's where we
Yeah.
agree. But that's how I read
Either
that.
way,
That's how I read that scene.
that whole, we don't have time for this, Amari, stop. It's like, no, the last time she saw him.
How many times
has
he himself threatened the sightless depth to Amari?
Yeah, like he has been horrible to her, and now she's just supposed to forget it, and he's supposed to get it, especially because like you're not gonna do any investigation into what she has to say. Or thought, you know what I mean? You could be like, okay, well, you could even say, okay, we'll handle this later. We'll have a conversation later. You can say anything.
We don't have time for this.
But just drop it. We're all on the same side is crazy. I did also want to point out briefly just Amari's discomfort in the spotlight. I feel like it kind of comes up again in the next chapter, but it's interesting because it's like she very much, I feel like this is the book where she kind of gets not that the last two books she was having a great time, but like the realities of being like famous and like what that really means in all the, and also, you know, she's getting like a crash course because she's getting the like, oh, they hate you and now they like you and now all that stuff. But I feel like there's just this like kind of undercurrent in this book of her just kind of being like, oh, I don't actually want this.
Yeah, I feel like
these things make me uncomfortable.
For me, what her discomfort did for me, like in realizing it, was like this is Amari's first chance to be back on the scene after being in hiding and being persecuted, being on the watch list. And the thing that sticks in her head the most to have to say to folks as she's explaining how the Magical World Congress thing happened and how like they figured out how it was actually Merlin who had created the time freeze, is to apologize that she did not save the day. That's the first thing on her mind to say to people. Like, nothing about her persecution, everything about, I'm sorry, I did not take up for y'all in that moment. In that moment, like Quentin like pats her in the back, and I'm like, I get like she shouldn't feel that way. That should not feel like something that she should be owning. And that's she's broadcasting on national, like worldwide television is, I'm sorry, I did not save you. Like, what?
And it's like, you're 13.
And
yeah, but it's also, I think that's the thing though, like she's more concerned about helping people than she is about the fame. And she's also like, but it's not necessarily a good thing in the sense of like you're saying, like she takes way more responsibility for things than she should or needs to.
Yeah, it's like
no one is really blaming her for it.
Yeah. And then the fact that no one clarifies in a moment, like, okay, no, Amari, like this is on like no one does that. And then the next big thing to come out of this is that Quentin is the one who gets to make the big declaration about what the Bureau is going to be doing next. And I'm like, how is that on Quentin to say to do? Like, he's a special agent, sure, but he's not like the Bureau director. So
the director is standing right
there beside him.
But I mean, I don't want him to talk, but he is standing right
but
there.
He's like, how is he the figurehead and vocal piece in the moment decision maker? Because the reporter asked the question in that moment and he gave an answer. So how is Quentin the authority on that? So like the dichotomy between like Amari being like, the whole weight of the world is put on me and I'm so sorry I failed you, and Quentin being like, the whole world of the weight of the Bureau is on my back and I can tell you a declarative answer right here and now about what we're gonna like. There's so much thrown off about this, and like, how is it on these two like very young people in a world of way more like instilled in this environment and whatever. And to be fair, all those people who've been instilled in the environment for the long time are very like inept at doing. So it's just like, this is a comedy of failures, but it's not funny. It's tragedy, and it's sad.
But we all agree that Quentin sucks, though, a little bit, is what I heard.
He's frustrating.
I'm not gonna jump on a bandwagon of hate. I'm gonna jump on a bandwagon.
Yeah,
but my hate is for the world to get to be this way and him to have bought into it in the way that he has.
Yes.
But he just does it in a way that is very. I get Tristan vibes from him, and I know that he'll be redeemed or whatever.
Not Tristan.
Yeah,
oh my god.
I don't think he would have done what Tristan did to like eliminate competition. Like,
I don't think he would have done that.
Yeah, I don't think he's that.
But the vibes, the you know how sometimes people just, I guess, in some ways,
you remember,
they don't present the way, or like they present in a way that is contradictory to how they feel internally. I feel this a lot whenever you start talking about Enneagrams, and I read the 4, and I'm like, I might present that way, but internally that's not what's happening. And I feel like that with Quentin. He is presenting in a way that I don't believe internally is what's happening, but the presentation is throwing me the fuck off.
I will say, like, I remember the last book we were trying to figure out, like, how the heck Tristan could be, like, a mentee of Vanquish. And I think it makes a lot more sense.
See?
Just in the way that, like, neither of them, as big and whatever as they are, they're not rocking the boat. They're going with the system. What, you know what I mean? Like, I do think to an extent, like, there is a way that, like, Tristan presents to people that he feels are his betters, but I also think that, like, I could see Quentin just kind of like not shrugging it off, but you know what I mean, just being less like not really being like, oh hey yo, this kid's tripping, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the last thing is Peekaboo's haunting. It's interesting because at first I was like, dang, so like part of me feels like poor Jaden, but at the same time, it's not like a haunting how you would think. It's not like Jaden is being terrorized. It's like, because the thing that Peekaboo says is, give me a list of your enemies and I will wreak horror upon their lives. So it's like he just got like a goon that follows him everywhere.
Which I'm down for.
Which I think is, yeah.
It's a
little bit like it feels like an adjustment, and I feel like in some ways, because Peekaboo is a lot, so like it's not to say that it's the best thing that could happen to Jaden, but it's not the worst.
It feels like a younger sibling trolling an older sibling. It's like, I'm gonna be up under you all the time, ha 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 ha. But I will go against your enemies. Like, give me a list. I'm in there causing havoc for them.
I'm the only one who's allowed to mess with you.
Right. But also I will mess with people who try to mess with you. So I also want to note while we're here, like while we're in Chamberlain business, that I appreciate that Amari stepping out in a Miss Abyss fit got Mrs. Chamberlain on a brand deal with Miss Abyss coming up. Like, I love the fashion of it all, and the timing is fun to me. And then this like she's celebrating a win, and now Peekaboo's celebrating a win with figuring out his haunting.
Yeah. I was also glad, I meant to write that in my notes, I forgot, because she left Homegirl's Miss Abyss at the gala. So I'm glad that Mrs. Chamberlain got got something back from that because at first I was like, that's wild, but then she got the
haute
little
couture. Like, what are
she
we
got
doing?
the end, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, you got the end now, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and I'm sure she'll have someone be like, can someone go? I know that's a mess right now, but Quentin,
please, once the evidence has been run out, please launder and return it to where it needs to go.
Once you have processed that scene, send me back my shit. I
exactly
think that it is really funny. Like, wherever the Andy Cohen of the Real Housewives of Beyond the Grave is, that he is just sitting there like, oh, we got a new brand deal. We had a little bit of, like, the cameras might not have caught it, but we are going to talk about it on Reunion Part 7, the encounter of the Grand Dame. What is she? The Drowned Dame. And
the Drowned
Dame and Mrs. Chamberlain's lookalike. We get, like, all of this is going into the reunion special. And or the, like, the catch up previously, or whatever they call it, while what you missed while we were away type of thing. Like, this season is going big. And I appreciate that. I'm excited. Not that I'm going to get to see it, but I would like to read about it.
I'm sad.
I'm not breaking my TV so I could get Di-Fi, but
I will find a broken one.
I will be reading the recaps, you know?
Like, I will walk down a couple of blocks. I'll find a broken TV. It's very easy. I can make it happen. Into chapter 18. So in chapter 18, Team Amari is off to a running start as they return to the Bureau to witness the washing away of Harlow's magic thanks to the new elfin leader who's stepping into Merlin's space. Not a lot of watching is happening, but we'll get into that. They're also there to reinstate Quentin's special agent status and move their anti-magic investigation forward. But before they can get into all of that, Amari, Elsie, and Jaden must record testimony for the War Council, which has been newly reinstated, to make plans on how to approach Dylan in the League of Magicians. So they all go into a room and they record their testimony about how everything happened and occurred. Quentin worryingly doesn't guarantee any assistance for the very fledgling and poorly supported magician resistance, and says that if they end up meeting if they end up meeting Amari, Jaden, and Elsie, they will be called into the War Council meeting, but for the most part, they're going to be using the video testimony to get things done. What he does guarantee, once he's officially reinstated as his special agent, and that comes with a whole rigmarole of things, like fanfare and stuff as he's going about getting his special agent status reinstated. After he's reinstated, he does guarantee that Amari and Jaden get to meet with the director of Spies and Secrets, who is able to lead them to 2 mostly empty folders that provides one single lead. And that lead comes in the name of Dr. Warren Ing.
BB!
The puns.
Warren.
The wordplay.
Warning.
Yep.
It took me a minute to do it, but once I did it, I was like, this man must be stopped. / don't stop going. Amazing.
So a few of my notes from this chapter 18, is that, like, first of all, they're supposed to be there sacredly, like, bearing witness to this, like, old elfin ritual that's going to restore everyone's ability to remember things and, like, not be under Harlow's, like, foothold anymore. And it's, like, glowing and things change. But here's Amari just blabbing it all up with Quentin, and I guess, like, Elsie and Jaden are also part of this conversation, as they're supposed to be, like, witnessing a thing. And can you imagine, like, you're like the person who's been chosen to replace Merlin, and you're trying to, like, stay in, like, your spellbound little vibe, and here comes a special agent with his, like, little crew of people, and they're just yapping it up as you're trying to, like, concentrate and like change the spell for the whole bureau. How rude.
Very rude.
I didn't realize it was all, but maybe that's how I wasn't reading it. Like, I didn't realize it was supposed to be like a solemn or a quiet thing, but I also could see how at the very least he would need some quiet.
I wasn't thinking about it as solemn. I was thinking more about it as like, when someone's like doing a presentation and then they're just chit-chatting in the back.
Right, yeah. But that's what I mean. Like, I wasn't thinking of it that way, but I do agree in that. Like,
so I have this question. Are
focus.
we still doing thoughts? Because I have a question before we get to
that was just my first thought.
Okay. I have a question before we get to your next thought.
Okay.
Because it kind of goes along with this, right? So this guy is like the new Merlin, or just he's doing the elf.
Well, the new elf king.
The elf king. Yeah, he's doing the elf magic that Merlin would do, right? And he's giving people their like memories back and whatever. But is he now in charge of the crystal ball? And could they not let Amari touch the crystal ball? I guess she's not telling anyone.
Oh.
But is the crystal ball still in play?
No.
Or we're in war now, so let's not mess with that yet?
Probably the latter, but I don't know that anyone asked. Right. I don't think
I don't think so, but I would think that like quietly. I would want to do this very quietly, not for everyone's knowledge or whatever, but just very quietly for Quentin or Magnus or whatever to be like, she's got 0.3% magic. She's not gonna stop doing dumb shit. Let's give her something. Let's see what else.
Get her to 5%.
Yeah, let's see what we could do instead of leaving her out here with knowledge of this world and in the world, but not of the world. You know what I mean? Like, so it was just a thought that I had that like I understand why we're not there, and then also by the end of the I'm just so mad at BB. I just thought about this. By the end of the book, it doesn't really matter, but
it's better than her being caught out there.
Yeah.
Well, right now they're not thinking about that because Quentin, he's got to get reinstated. And what is being a celebrity of a world if you don't get like the most special and enchanted and unique celebrity life treatment that you could ever have? And so when he goes to the Department of Supernatural Licenses and Records, every like where Beyonce says world stop, like Quentin has that effect. Like everyone stops, everyone stares, everyone's coming out of the woodworks to get a piece of him. They want a signature, they want to tug on his shirt, they want to do everything. And Amari describes it's like if a movie star showed up at the DMV and like they're like, even Elsie's like, yeah, this is just like the bare minimum of what I would expect for Vanquish, and like explains why Maria didn't get it as crazy as Quentin's getting it. And it's like, this is ridiculous. And like, not only does it have implications for like how Quentin is like his ego, but also like the treatment of Amari and the rest of the trio, like they just all get like pushed to the side. And Amari's just like watching all this take place, like the difference in their treatment, her treatment versus his treatment, and like all the crap that comes along with that. And this has to have long-term implications on like how Quentin sees the world, how he views his ability and his privileges, and how he chooses to use them. And Amari, and how she like internalizes like the differences in treatment between the two of them.
But
and
also
how people actually show it to them.
Can we also like not forget the fact that they didn't actually, the reason why Vanquish is because they captured a Night Brother, and they didn't.
I think it was Moreau, but they didn't actually capture him.
Yes. And we know that
That's
now.
not funny, but
we know that they didn't.
But they've done other things since then. I think that's probably what it was. It like catapulted them, but their initial thing is not.
And he already has so much goodwill among so many different like people within the supernatural world. Like not even just like one faction of the supernatural world is effing with him. Like he has ends in so many different parts, like the criminal side, the chill side. Like he's got a lot of like good. He's got a lot of good points. Like he's got a lot of stuff that like people he can cash in at any time. Like he's cool. He can sit on anybody's block.
He's good on every MLK Boulevard.
He's on every MLK.
I guess
he's good,
including the Bureau, which has no MLK, which is we know
he's good on every Merlin Avenue.
Right. So when we learn about like whenever Amari and Jaden visit the Bureau, the Department of what is it? Spies
and Secrets.
Spies and Secrets.
Spies, Lies, and Allies, but that's a challenge.
Yeah.
Season.
Whenever they're there, it's like the recurring theme of the Bureau is like, we're gonna stay wiping your memories. Like, don't ever get involved with us and think we're not gonna wipe you, because we will. Like, we will wipe you. Is probably the motto and chant that they have as you're talking about how they're gonna like work with people in investigations. But it's interesting to note that, and this is what comes up in this Department of Spies and Secrets, is that like they make sure that you don't remember anything about your time there besides the one thing that you are there to learn. And so when the junior agent that's explaining this to Amari and Jaden says that, she notes that like Jaden has been haunted by Peekaboo and he's currently napping, and she's like, okay, that's good because the memory wipe would be ineffective on Ghost. That is an aha that we should hold on to, and knowing like when that haunting of Jaden actually will come in handy.
But also
Definitely.
the idea that just because he's napping now, you gonna let him in? Like, what? Like, they have all of these like security protocols, and then they'll just do some dumb stuff. Like,
I guess they just assume like he'll they're not gonna be there long because they ain't got no information.
But still, just be like, you gotta leave.
Stuff up.
You gotta leave your ghost at the door. Like,
yeah.
But like, if you can't tell where he
Peekaboo
is,
isn't. They don't. Yeah, he left. He's not with. He's not with them. So maybe that's
So I'm saying, like, my thing is,
he's not like trailing behind Jaden.
But can he go invisible? Because if you don't know, like, you're asking about where my ghost is, I could tell you my ghost ain't here, but he could really be here, but invisible, and you wouldn't know the difference because you don't know.
That's
true.
That's true. It's just it's a glaring security
risk
violation or vulnerability.
Insecurity, one might say. Also, like, I love this because it's hilarious to me. Much like Blue Ivy, the spies in the Bureau have never seen where Blue Ivy's never seen a ceiling in her whole life. The spies at the Bureau have never seen a regular door. They're like, what is that? If I can't tip tap on hardwood floors, tins across the board, then I don't know what you're trying to take me down. Are you a witch? Are you trying to take me to a regular portal by opening and closing I don't trust that. I need to tap on things. I need to know that every third square is the thing I need to hit before I can get in. If I walk up to a wall, I need to hum a particular tune. That's how I go from one room to another. This opening and closing of doors, what is that? I don't know her.
Yeah, I love it.
So silly.
It's so I think we've talked about it before too, but like I just like seeing the new departments and like what they got going on, because it's all fun and like I feel like the Department of Supernatural Investigations is the least interesting, but I also feel like partly because we're in there all the time.
Yes, but I'm never gonna side with the cops. I don't care how supernatural or not they are.
That too. But I'm just saying, like, the sky sprints and like all the stun sticks, like they would feel more novel if we didn't see them all the time.
I'm not,
but then you got these rooms, and again, it's still like it's the least Well, okay, I'm not gonna say the least interesting because they do have the licenses and records, and that's basically just the DMV. But second least interesting.
Well, it's also, it comes also with the fact of like how they decide to be investigators, because like turn that place into like a supernatural CSI, like, you know what I mean, like the science and discovery thing that Elsie's in. I forget the name of the Bureau of
I think it's just magical sciences.
Magical Sciences. It's super interesting, right? And like if they had like magical forensics and stuff like that, it's just like they decided to turn themselves into boring ass cops.
Yeah, they could be on some freaking Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah.
Freaking like not even like secret agent, just like, you know, like big scene, like, but like where's the BAU? You know, behavioral analysis. Like, okay, like yesterday we did forensics. Today we're gonna like, what are the patterns of this
profile and some ghosts, man?
Yeah.
Like we built a puzzle around a profile. Can you like it's an escape room, but you're trying to get in? Like we're just testing your detective skills every day. Are you Batman or not? Let's see. Like that's that would be fun. But no.
Yeah, they gotta go deport some unwanteds.
And you know who's responsible for that? Director Van Helsing. He is the cop in charge. Yes, but he's the lead cop in charge of the freaking like that bureau. Like so, like everything that's boring about it, it's all him. It's all his personality. And you know, there could be whimsy there, but that shows how little whimsy lives in that man.
This is true.
The closest they get is what were the like those days where they get to interview different magical beings or supernatural beings. I think that's maybe the closest.
Like if he had a touch more whimsy, he might be able to indoctrinate people about the Van Helsing lore and be, you know what I mean? Like he could like, oh, I'm gonna make puzzles about my great great grandfather, and y'all gonna
like,
deal with
Imagine being like a department head in the Bureau of like Supernatural Affairs, and you have no whimsy.
Insane.
Zero
Couldn't
whimsy.
be me.
Even that one dude that likes to leave his head at home. Like I find
he leave it down.
He leave it in his office. It came with him to the bureau. It just didn't stay with him all day.
Keeps it down the hall.
I'm saying, I find it irresponsible and unacceptable and unprofessional, but it is whimsical. Like you could still be the worst with some whimsy.
That's a very like, you know what? If Van Helsing had a little whimsy to him, would I still hate him? Yes. But
you would have to give him one thing.
I would give him one,
and you wouldn't be bored. You wouldn't be hating him bored. Like you would have a little bit more fun hating him. You'd be Kendrick with it. Yeah. Instead, now you're like, you know, everybody watching the news.
Right. Final note. So they do all the like cute little steps, and honestly, all these different steps behind these like secret doors and stuff remind me a lot of playing like old school Pokemon. Whenever you go to the Team Rocket building and have to go against their lead, which is Giovanni or whatever. There were these like weird different like puzzles and stuff you had to do by like trying to figure out your way up into a room. And I think the mirror trick is pretty cool that they do in this chapter. With the Director Privy, but I also think that the fact that all Director Privy can do like in this is very, very Tyra Banks. In this folder, I have one document. And this document actually leads us to another document, which is also in a single folder, which is also a single document. And then he gives it to Amari to read. And like from our understanding, that's basically the only thing she's going to leave here with memory of is this document that he allows her to read, which is a letter from a former director who says that in his opinion anti-magic has to be like left alone basically, but now she has a name for someone who can give her clued into what she should be looking for, and that name is Dr. Warren Ing.
It never gets old. It really doesn't.
Yeah, it's great. And I think there was something in there too about like the other wonders can either stop you know what I mean?
A
Like it's
person
like
with
they're the
both
only
the
cure to the
wonder.
issue.
Yeah, so it is my belief that one of the wonders depicted in the mural you sent may have the unique ability to stabilize the explosive properties of anti-magic. Simply put, a person with both the wonder and this knowledge could wield anti-magic at will and, in the wrong hands, destroy all supernatural life on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Fun facts.
Department of Magical Science.
Jinkies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a particular wonder that is not something they want Dylan to have,
Yeah.
to say the least. So yeah, who is your MVP?
I had such a hard time that I was about to pull a Porshèa and leave it blank. But then as I was talking, I was like, Lucas. And he was only in the first chapter. And like I said, like failures abound. And he wasn't immune from those failures, but he's got a very cool power set, most importantly in his portal magic, because if you are going to surround yourself with people who do not make good plans, at least you have a good escape.
Yeah.
And a
true
reliable escape route. And so he is that. And then I mean, I know that it was Laura and we hate to see it, and he does not know how to reverse it, but I think the ice magic is also very cool. And the way in which sure, yeah, let's say I intended that. And the way in which he used it was like, I don't have time to be going back and forth with you, lady. And so it was it was very quick, like, that's that on that. So I gave it to Lucas. It's an after-season type of thing. Like I said, it's only one chapter, and overall they are down bad, but he's the one that stood out the most.
For me, it's a gift and a curse is what I got from my MVPs and benches today. For MVP, I put director Privy ? Also one chapter person, but and also really here because director Privy did their job. Very few people in the bureau have been doing their jobs effectively, and I guess it was just nice to see someone do their job well, or do the basic confines of their job. I enjoyed though as well, like talking again. I think the whimsy behind a department is a display of personality from the director, and I appreciate the personality that's being represented in the way that the Department of Spies and Secrets works. I also enjoy that, like, because everyone knows that, like, when people's memories are going to be wiped there, they're very, like, straightforward and honest about, like, just telling them how things work. They're like, this is how this department works. This is how this, we're doing this XYZ, boom, boom, bam. And I, like, for me, I'm like, if I know that I'm going to be using a skill a certain way, and whatever I say, like, even if I'm supposed to be like someone who keeps secrets, I can just openly tell the truth, and it's not gonna like have any effect on me maintaining secrets is super cool. And I just enjoy honesty, so it was nice to see that. And then the flip side, I also kind of have to give it to the Bureau status quo for saving the day when it needed to be saved. Like, they're able to call a medic for Lara because the ecosystem of the Bureau is still functioning. They're still, like, they can still have immediate care, and like there's somewhere to go to after Merlin has been taken down, because the Bureau is still acting and moving the way that it has for eons, right? So because of the status quo of the Bureau, there is nothing that is stopping anyone from feeling like they can move forward because they have all these resources available to them. They're able to set a meeting with Director Privy using the usual methods, through Quentin getting the special paperwork and all that kind of stuff, because that's how this works. And it didn't stop because one figurehead went down. Everything's still moving. So to a credit, a place that I don't really want to credit, the maintaining of the status quo actually is working for people when they really need it to. So I'm giving that a bit of a props because they need it.
Word. My MVP I think is Magnus. I feel like all of us are kind of like, maybe. I think they're all kind of. I feel like there's so much that happens, and it's like so many different characters and things that it was just kind of hard to pick a full standout. But I just appreciate Magnus, and like I said, like his like we're kind of at this point, we're in the third book, like he understands who he's working with and like who he's dealing with, and he understands like and he trusts Amari, and yeah. All right, who's benched?
BB Alston. God. Why am I crying?
Alas.
Crying on the Lord's Day. Thug tears. Thug tears. I benched the Bureau because like everyone that should have been benched has like a decisive and powerful and influential role in the Bureau, so why not bench the whole shebang? You know, when we always talk about like messing with people's memories and stuff, and like the consent that goes around with that, but also just like how violating that is, and like all fantasy stories, whenever like there's any sort of erasing of memories or implanting of memories, it is always something that we're like, this is concerning, right? It is, and it's a concerning thing. Even like how cute it is, you know, this is like one of the comps for Amari is Men in Black, how cute that little remote memory eraser can be, is concerning. They just willy-nilly will just take your memories, and I'm just like, there needs to be like a consent form, an understanding of like what it means to take memories, how, like, I don't know, I just need more information on this ability and how quick they are to use it. Special shout out to Quentin, because you're not even a director. You're just like, I don't know, like a pundit type of like, you look good on camera type of thing, and it's going a bit to his head, and he is making these unilateral decisions for not just him but for his sister and magicians, like, and like the magicians who want to do the right thing and stand against Dylan. Of course, there's only 2 of them. He doesn't know that, but like, I need you to be humble. Sit down. Just, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I binged Quentin too. I don't know that I necessarily read it as him not being humble, but I definitely didn't like that moment where they were asking like, "Oh, could we work with Lucas and Hannah?" And he's just very cagey about it. And like, yeah, it technically isn't up to him, but I think that like if he had been like, "Oh, I can't determine that, but I'll talk to whoever and see if we can get you know what I mean?" Like he was very clearly like hesitant about that and not really wanting to do that, and very much he's still anti-magician. And so yeah, I didn't like that. I also did not like how he shut Amari down about Van Helsing. And yeah, just somebody is going to have to make that change, The Bureau cannot go on the way that it is.
Make that change. Gonna feel real good.
That's not where I went. I went
change.
Make a change and break away.
Not break away.
and I'll learn how to fly.
Get it, Kelly Clarkson.
Wow. It's a banger.
Kelly Clarkson, I love you. I'm sorry. I benched. I hear y'all. I benched Director Van Helsing because if he's around, he's going down.
I wouldn't have expected anything else.
I am
True.
I
Consistent.
am Fred. Yes, I am Fred from A Puppet Named Scooby-Doo. The red herring. If it's Van Helsing is around, please know he's going down. For me, I don't even care. The fact that he showed he had the audacity to show his face as if he actually cared about the world being okay on worldwide television. F and Helsing forever for that. So
in 4K.
Yeah. F and Helsing. He's a liar, cheater, all the things. Also where
actress.
Yes. A liar, son of a.
She's not going where you were going, Bayana, but
again, I'm always going somewhere else.
We were in Love Island land over there.
I was on Love Island.
You're a liar, an actress. Get the fuck out of here.
I don't know. F and Helsing. And where I was giving props to the Bureau for maintaining space that people need, I'm also going to throw them under the bus for being who they are. It's not throwing them under the bus because like they got to own this. They should take accountability for being the crappy system that they are. The status quo thing that I'm personally affronted by is the fact that like, and this has bearing in my regular life, is the expectation that people will move as normal when they're going through great trauma and tragedy. Like seeing Merlin and them go on like live television, that is traumatizing. Like having to keep picking up and keep moving on is asking for so much, and we're asked to do that every single day. Like we're working, like it's so uncanny living life where like the coronavirus hit, and it's like, do we still work? We're Zooming now? I guess we're Zooming. Like, it's just all this stuff. It's like, it hits, and we're supposed to keep moving as if life is normal, even though it doesn't make any sense to move as if life is normal, but the bills still have to get paid. And that's what's happening here. And it's so scary and frustrating. And I especially just like how it's adding extra strain and stress onto Amari's 13-year-old self, who she's going through all this. When Magnus takes her back to the scene of the crime, she's flinching and like not well. And she's like, I wish you would have told me that we were coming here, because she's not prepared. And I don't know what would prepare her for that. And but the expectation is for her to just like keep calm and carry on. And it's like, that's not what should be expected of someone who's like put in this position. But that's what the Bureau needs her to do. That's what the Bureau expects for anyone who is working under their vestige of their power to do. That's what the system moves and behooves you to do. So I give and I take, because like it's 0 points for Bureau because I'm canceling it out. But I did want to acknowledge, like, I see the benefits to the system being the way that it is, like where people are carrying on and you can go and depend on it. But there's so many direct just things that are failures and lacks of like actually taken in like actual pure humanity that should count so much more than all the positives that the Bureau has, and that that Quentin and Magnus are representing and are appreciative of way too much, in my opinion. And that's it for us. So I want to say thank you to all of you who are listening. Please join us next week when we discuss chapters 19 through 21. Please remember that if you want to join us, you can do so when we're live. If you become a BNC baddie and join our live recordings on Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific and 5 p.m. Eastern. Same time.
Wizard Team is a part of the Black Nerds Create Collective. If you want to keep up with our content, you can check out our website at blacknerdscreate.com. Follow us on Instagram and Tumblr at Wizard Team Pod and at Black Nerds Create. Also, we're on Blue Sky at blacknerdscrate.com.
Mm-hmm.
Got that too.
Bye.
Bye.